Just unboxed my Ultimate Body Press pull-up bar that I'm going to install in a few minutes. I figured I'd go over the parts before I do. You can see they came with the actual chin-up bar, a couple supports for the right and left, and a bag of hardware, as well as the instruction sheet. That's pretty much all it came with, nothing fancy at all. If you look at the parts, you'll see that they did include some drywall anchors, but honestly, I mean, if you bought this particular pull-up bar that specifically has the 16-inch wide supports, I suspect you're probably looking to put it into studs instead of into sheetrock. And even if you were to put it into sheetrock, I don't think I'd recommend going with something like this. I'd probably use a toggle bolt or something like that instead. These anchors I would not trust if it were me. The lag bolts, they're 5/16 by about 3.5 on the 5/16 in diameter, 3.5 inches long, and pretty much everything else, you know, pretty straightforward. If you look at the instruction sheet, you'll see that it actually says right here to pre-drill your 4 holes using a 7/16 inch bit, which is actually nearly 1/2 inch diameter. And if you were to follow the directions and do that, I think you would find yourself in a mess, because the diameter of the lag bolt itself is smaller than the hole they're telling you to drill. I measured this with some calipers, and I'm actually going to drill with a 7/32 bit when I install it. So I guess now I'm going to get to it. I'll get this installed and we'll do a quick review. Okay, I think I've got everything ready to install. I read through the instruction sheet. Let me tell you, somebody needed to proofread that thing pretty bad. There were quite a few little mistakes on there. So I think when you do read it, be sure to use common sense. Let me show you one other thing after I unwrapped this. I don't know if you can tell the end of that, the handle on the grips on both of them, there's some damage to the rubber. And this is where the rubber band was wrapped around to keep the plastic on. So hopefully, you know, in the long run that'll kind of come out, but the way it looks, I kind of doubt it will. So let's go ahead and get started with the install. I figured out where I want to put it. I see the height I want it at, so I'm just going to go ahead and start marking stuff off, and we'll get it installed. Okay, the first thing I want to do is find out where to put my right hand support using my stud finder. And we'll mark it here. There we go. Now we use the level to make that line a little longer, just so I can see it from top to bottom, and make sure that we're going to be on the same level the whole way. Let's go from there down to there. That looks good. Now we'll hold this bar up where I want it, approximately. The first one I can kind of just ballpark it. I already kind of verified where I want it. On the second one, I'll make sure it's leveled up to the first one. Okay, so I'll just put a dot, a little hash mark right in the middle of that circle for both the bottom and the top. And that looks good. Okay. Now, using a 7/32 bit, I'll drill the pilot holes. And time to mount this guy. You can use a socket wrench for this, but honestly, if you have a drill like this, it's much quicker. Okay, that is not going anywhere. That's rock solid. Now I'm going to install the pull-up bar to the single support using the bolt that they include.